All right, well, let's start telling everybody who you are, what you do, how long you've been around, name origin, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Go by Memphis Reigns, and so I think we started kind of making that an official name probably about late '90s, early 2000s. I had originally started going with a different name. I was going by the name of Forecast, kind of check the forecast weather type. And then I was looking for an alias. I'd mentioned before that I was really into the Wu-Tang Clan, and so was a real fan of the alter egos they were creating, like Johnny Blaze for Method Man, Tony Starks for Ghostface Killer. And so I was looking for an alter ego when I first started rapping. And then I'd seen that movie, Gone in 60 Seconds by Nicolas Cage, man, and that's his name as the main character in the movie, and just kind of fell in love with the name and intended on using that as an alter ego. And then as time passed, I went on and used that as the main name for me when I was doing music. So that's when it stuck. Origin of that was about 2000. So I was rapping, or at least, learn to try it and do some rapping early 90s, and then really didn't become too solid until the late 90s, until I transitioned from Japan to Santa Cruz. Got a little more serious in the late 90s, and then picked it up more and first started recording in the early 2000s. And then, recorded a lot of music, performed in the early 2000s to mid 2000s, and took a little break, probably 8-year break, just with work and family, and then picked up music again in 2019. So I've been at it since then, and just, I'll keep on doing it until it's, until I find it fun. And then when it's over, then, it's over. But yeah, until then, I'm having a lot of fun doing it, meeting a lot of new people, working out with a lot of friends, and just making music. Just a good stress relief for me at work. And so I'm still doing it. Yeah.
So how old were you when you wrote your first rap?
Oh, I was probably 15, 16, maybe, when I first dabbled in it. Yeah, I didn't really take it too serious. I was just kind of doing it for fun. And then I think probably about 97, started trying to put a little more pen to the paper. And then really 98 was when I really gave it a go, when I decided, hey, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to go for it. So, yeah.
97, 98 was like the year of the fuel, like everybody was fueled to rhyme. That's when all the ciphers were real heavy back then. Yeah. Battle rap over beats at that time was real big. But the underground scene kind of started to flourish right around that time and into the early 2000s before it died off, So there must have been something in the air and the water back then, because we were all kind of fueled around that time to start doing stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a good time for music. Internet too was booming too, so learned about all the other rappers too from different parts of the world and different parts of the United States. I'm really bummed I never made it out to Scribble Jam. Did you ever make it out to one of those?
I did, man.
Oh,
Scribble a few times. I played Scribble with all the Galapagos dudes. When Boot Camp Clip was there, it was heavy. Man, there was nothing like Scribble Jam back in the day.
No, I bet.
It was the mecca for what we were doing,
Yeah, really, really shame I didn't make it out there. I did do a couple South by Southwest visits and got to rock out there one time. So that was probably my closest thing to Scribble Jam. But from what I understand, nothing's like Scribble Jam, man. So yeah, bummed I never met.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was a good time for music for sure.
So in '98, you started rapping in Japan or in Santa Cruz?
Yeah, so I was getting ready to leave Japan in '97. Start school out in Santa Cruz. So I was in Japan for sure when I started writing and just playing with it and just kind of messing with the idea of trying to rap. I really went hard latter part of '97 when I moved to Santa Cruz for school. I met a bunch of good dudes out there, and it was just kind of blessing in disguise. But all the guys I was dormed out with, were into hip hop and even all the other elements too as well. And so I just had a good group that was
Santa
really.
Cruz has a heavy hip hop scene, man. There's a lot of dope MCs out there, man. Especially back when the underground was really popping. The LA to the Bay movement was real dope.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, man. It was a good environment to be around. It was my first exposure to an underground rap too, as well. I was really just, growing up in Japan, more exposed to mainstream music, and then kind of the best from each side of the country, East Coast, West Coast, everything.
Right.
Top 40.
In Japan, love East Coast hip hop.
Yeah, most definitely. And then Santa Cruz. I met my man High Poetical, who I did one of my earlier albums with, who just introduced me to the underground scene, which was just kind of blew my mind. I just I'd never seen or heard anything like that. And so yeah, so that's kind of where my interest in underground music sparked, and it was definitely more of the type of music that I wanted to do, at least when I first picked it up. So really got heavy into it, and just blessed to have a good group of friends that introduced me to that world.
What were you doing in Japan? Why did you live in Japan?
Yeah, that's right. I was born in San Francisco. My father was in the so we bounced around a lot. So every couple of years we were moving around. But Japan is where I spent most of my formative years at. Probably a good 8-9 years of my life before moving to Santa Cruz for school. I stayed out there, so that was prime golden age hip hop music, and just growing up in general, right? And so this is where you come real close with your friends, and yeah, so we were out there and just had a good time and good experience, and I draw a lot of references to Japan just because that's where I grew up, that's what I know. So we were out there, yeah, for my dad's career.
So do you speak fluent Japanese?
I don't, probably enough to get around, enough to fake the funk for sure, but basics to feel comfortable. But yeah, no, not fluently though.
But you speak fluent Tagalog, right?
I do, yeah, I do speak Tagalog. So we also lived in the Philippines for a little bit. Dad was stationed out in Subic for a couple of years, and so that's where I picked it up. And just growing up in a Filipino household, learned it there and picked it up. And so yeah, was fortunate enough to just be able to remember on speaking how to speak Tagalog. So yeah, I still speak it fluently.
That's dope, man. Like for me, it's I'm always rooting for the home team. Filipino rappers have a special place in my heart. So there's a lot of cats, they use their culture as like a stepping stone, or sometimes it pigeonholes people into this kind of category where it's just like Asian rap or Chicano rap, or you know what I'm saying? Did that play any part in you starting to create? Like, did you want to be kind of like well known in the Filipino rap scene?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, man. I think when I first came into it, I didn't want to associate it with it. Yeah, I kind of wanted to say, hey, I didn't want to be a Filipino rapper. I just wanted to be, hey, man, he's an MC, right? And
yeah.
Like, not because like, oh, he's dope for Filipino, right? I wanted to be able to, hold my own and just be known as a rapper in general, right? A good rapper, or whatever the case may be. And so I think early on I was like, I don't want to, play that card too much. But as I get older, as you get older and your topics become more complex, and a lot of your music becomes more thematic. I stepped away more from the battle type music into more thematic type stuff.
Right.
You only you tell stories that right? So at least for me, there's got to be truth to my music. And so being Filipino is all I know. That's my life, my story, everything that I've done to this day, ties back to that. And I would do music a disservice if I didn't tell the truth and tell my story, right? So, I always, find mad respect to rappers who talk about their perspective growing up or the way they live. And so, yeah, so we're nationally American, but, roots draw from a Filipino family. So, I feel like it's my duty to tell that story and share that with everybody. So yeah, it plays plays a big role in the music.
I think you said something really important. You said something really important. I don't mean to cut you off. Thinking that people are saying that you're dope for a Filipino rapper instead of just like he's a dope rapper. I think that's always been my thing, is like I never wanted to be noticed as something other than a raw MC. You know what I'm saying? That was most important to me. I think respect is like, it's the riches of this culture, hip hop culture. If you don't have respect on all aspects and all levels, I think you need to keep working at it. You know what I'm saying? But that's the way I
Yeah,
look at you. It's a plus for me that you're Filipino because I hold you
that's right.
close to my heart. My people are my heart, you know? Which also kind of brings me to another thing. It's kind of like, it's kind of uncanny that you ended up in Japan for so long. Like the history between Filipinos and Japanese back in the war. And we've talked about this
Yeah,
a little bit. You know, that my grandmother, my Lola, she still hasn't really forgiven the Japanese for the war. You know what I mean?
sure.
Because they've never publicly come out and apologized for the war. They still don't acknowledge it. You know what I mean? Which I think for the older generations, they have a really hard time uh, accepting not being apologized to for the atrocities that happened in the World War. You know, in the Philippines, and a lot of people aren't even hip to the history. The Japanese were brutal back in the day. Brutal,
Mhm.
brutal. My Lola wrote a book on it. My aunt wrote a book on it called When the Elephants Dance. You can check it out. But it's all
Yeah,
about those times and how they used to kill off. This is part of the war tactics. War is brutal, and you're a military man, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But just they were overly brutal. How they used to kill off the men in the family, take over the households. You know, leaving the bodies in the streets. Just the torture that they did to our people back then is it just hasn't been acknowledged in the right way. For me personally, how I feel about that. So it's kind of ironic that you ended up in Japan and were raised in Japan around that culture, you know?
yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's yeah, like you said, war is brutal, and it's very hard to forget history, right? Many examples of just being, that in general being hard to forget. And so, I see, as I watch from afar, I know both countries are trying to make amends and figure it out. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely painful to remember from both sides. And so I think everybody's working to just try to become better people and working at trying to make amends to fix that. But yeah,
But
acknowledge.
you were treated pretty fairly out there, you would say, when you were growing up out there.
Yeah, I had a great upbringing over there. Had a great experience. Just beautiful country, beautiful people, very kind. And just, I have nothing but great things to say about Japan. And it's one of our favorite countries to visit. And we find ourselves going back.
I can agree, man.
Yeah,
I had such a good time out there. They treated me really well for the month that I
yeah,
was there. They treated me excellent, man. It's a
yeah,
beautiful country. The people are very sweet, genuine. Boy, they can
yeah,
party. They know how to drink out there, man.
yeah.
They can drink.
That got me beat,
They
man.
drink hard.
Yeah, so I got a special place in my heart for Japan, man. Just growing up, all my formative years out there, and just so many good memories. So yeah, love being out there, and would love to go out there as time permits.
You know what was interesting about Japan for me is the way that they're such perfectionists in everything that they do. Like when I went to the hip hop stores out there, shout out to We Not, my homies from We Not out there. They categorize everything like to a T, down to
Yeah,
the city, to the neighborhood, to everything, bro. They were on point out there. I remember passing these dudes that I thought were cholos, and they were looking at me super hard, you know, and they were from Japan, and I was like, "What's up, homie?" Like, "Oh, what's up, hey? How you doing?" I was like, "Whoa,
yeah,
man!" It was a trip. They nailed the culture, man.
yeah. I think so, man. I was very fortunate to work with my man Sky out there in Tokyo, and was able to put out a project with them. But yeah, man, I have to agree. Same thing, man. His mixing and mastering process just was very detailed, and just had a very perfectionist when he was putting stuff together. But yeah, I mean, I would probably say I've experienced the same thing going out to the record shops out there too as well. Very detailed, and but yeah, man, they got the culture down, and big fans of the '90s era hip hop too. At least the guys that I were hanging out with, and yeah, it's impressive, and they've done some great things for the culture too as well.
Did you ever have ciphers out there with some of those guys? Like, would you freestyle with a lot of those guys out
Yes,
there?
I did when I was younger, starting out in the late '90s. But then I haven't been back since. I've been back for work and vacation, but I was never in a music capacity. But but early on, I was out there, having ciphers when I was learning, and then it wasn't until probably like 2017 when I connected with the Japanese producers out there. So that's when I kind of started getting a little deeper into more what they were doing production wise. But, I'd been a fan of, producers like New Javis, who was amazing, and big staple,
real dope,
hip hop. Yeah. And Honda, all those guys stuff, right? Yeah, so I was always aware of the scene, but didn't really get to do a deep dive until about 2016, 2017, when I started working on some projects with them.
So when you moved to the States, how old were you when you hit Santa Cruz?
Yeah, I was 18.
Okay.
18 in Santa Cruz, and I stayed out there for about 5-6 years before moving back to Sacramento area.
Mm. So is that when you joined the service, when you moved to Santa Cruz?
No, so I didn't get into the service until I was 25. So it was about 2005. So it was a couple years after I left Santa Cruz. I was working.
Yeah, man. Thank you for your service. I appreciate military. Like, I got a lot of military family, and I think it's an honorable and respectable thing to be in the service and serve this country for as long as you have, man. Through all its ups and downs, Yeah,
I appreciate that, man. But I was late. I was a late bloomer. Yeah, I didn't get out there until about 2005. So I worked a little bit out in the Sacramento area, and then it's funny. I had no intent of joining the military, but just was so used to the lifestyle. Growing up, with my father who served like 26 years, and so I actually missed like a bunch of different aspects of being a child in the military, just moving around. And so I made that decision when I was 25. I was like, man, you know what? I want to see the world a little bit. And I kind of missed moving around. And so I gave it a shot. And then 17 and a half years later, I'm still in. So it's been a good ride. I enjoy being in the Army, and I've met a lot of good people. Been thankful for the opportunity to travel and just work with others from different countries. So it's been a good experience.
So you have a daughter, and she's 8 years old? So
she is, yeah.
You have a wife, and it's a beautiful thing to see that you're thriving in your career with your wife and your kid, and you're still rapping, still coming at it hard too.
Whew,
you got
tough.
A lot of new releases. Why don't you go down the line of the new releases just of 2022?
Man,
Filipino is definitely one of my favorites, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. So that was probably, I mean, just a couple projects that we knocked out in 22. As you mentioned, Gumiho. That was a project that I did when I was stationed in Korea. It was probably the latest release.
That's the Korea.
So that was pretty interesting too, man. I was able to connect with a small Korean label out there, a collective of producers and MCs, and so we toyed with the idea of doing the project. And so, man, I was all about it. It was during the COVID time. And so, I just expressed to them, I really wanted to take this project and give it a Korean theme and just kind of tie in a bunch of things that, I'd experienced while living out in Korea. But that was a great project that, we were very pleased with. And then we also I did a project with a good friend of mine from high school, Shaman Cassette. We did this project called Tokyo Time Machine with a good friend also from Santa Cruz by the name of Remshot, a couple years younger than me, so from the younger generation. But we reconnected for this project too as well. And, this one, Shaman Cassette has got a special place also for me too as well, because he was rapping like way before I was in high school. And so I used to watch him rhyme in high school, man. And I told him, man, that was like very motivational watching him rap, when I was not even considering rapping. And so that also had a lot of influence on me as well. So it's kind of interesting. It came full circle. We would eventually, go on and do music in our respective lanes. And then the paths came back and intertwined. And so we connected for a project, which was really awesome too as well. So it's a self-titled album that we call Tokyo Time Machine with Remshot. So it's a little group name to go by.
It's a good record, man.
Yeah. Thank you. And then, I would probably highlight two other projects too that I did. One was with a UK producer by the name of Matt Quartz. So he's also a phenomenal producer as well out of the UK. And so same thing, man. We connected for a quick EP, which was really great too, that I enjoyed making. And probably finally was the Harakuma EP that I did with Sankofa, also an amazing MC that took off in the 90s and then just is killing it right now. And so good buddy of mine too as well. And we put that out on vinyl, and that was also a very fun project to do. So, and then just, 2022 sprinkled with a couple singles out there, but a lot of work that I did with Remshot, man, my buddy from Santa Cruz, who was also a phenomenal producer. Yeah.
Dude, you were busy in 2022. How'd you manage to fit all that stuff in?
Man, I think probably COVID had played a big role in, in that, and just, there wasn't much to do outside. And so, when we were stuck inside, I got back into rhyming again. And so found a lot of time to do music. And then just the work schedule was very accommodating in terms of it wasn't as busy as some of the other places that I've been to. So that's, probably my biggest struggle in terms of recording music today and having a family, is just finding the time to do it. And I probably got to draw back, because it's worth mentioning, man, an interview that I watched that you did, and you mentioned that sometimes, a verse takes a couple of days, when you get the opportunity to write 4 bars a night, and then you got to piece it all together. And that's typically what I have to do these days, is kind of just put a little bit into the verse and, get out 4 to 6 bars, and then jump on it the next day. And, after a couple of days, I've got a verse that I have to edit. And then
do what you got to do, man.
Yeah, for sure.
To make it work.
That's right,
whatever
man.
You got to do to make it work,
Yeah, so I was very thrilled to hear that, I was not, alone in terms of the writing process being like that, and the recording process. It was pretty cool to see.
That's how it is when still, like, the drive is still there, the fire's still there, because, like me, I know you can relate. It's just something I'll do forever. It doesn't matter. For me, it was never was out there with the intentions of, like, I'm going to get huge and I'm going to make a lot of money and I want to flex all this shit. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'll take it for sure.
Yeah.
Give me that, I'll take it. But that's never been my intentions with art, because this is a sacred art for me,
Yep.
I feel like it's God-given. The Creator gave this to me to do something with, positive, important. Sometimes it's not positive what's coming out of me.
Yeah.
It's reality of what's happening. There's a positive to it in the long run. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's definitely admirable that you still make it happen. And so what rank are you right now in the military?
I'm a lieutenant colonel in the Army.
And that in itself is a huge achievement. To do all that, still put out, I don't even know how many albums you have. I didn't count them all, but there's a ton. I know there's some that's not on Spotify. You probably have a bunch of stuff that's like archived that you haven't put out yet, too.
Oh, man, somewhere hidden, man, I guess. But thank you, man. You're too kind. And I got to return the comments back to you as well, man. So, I mentioned, in our previous discussion that, I first heard your music probably early 2000s from my man, High Poetical, man. And so, like you mentioned, man, just being Filipino was really big back then, right? In terms of just like, oh man, if he's rapping and you found out that he was ethnically Filipino, it was like, wow, that's pretty awesome, man. So that's what happened with you, right? So High Poetical had told me about you and your music, man, and introduced me to that in about I think the 2005, 2006 time frame, and heard that album, Blind Faith, and then Life Like a Movie, man, and I was a fan ever since, man. So I'd followed your career too on as well, and so it's pretty amazing too, with the family that you have, such a big family and beautiful family, and all the time that you spend with them and work, and still be able to do music, man. Is I applaud you too, man. It's been awesome. It's been an honor to follow your career, and even more so to be able to get to know you and still talk music like this.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, man. And it means a lot to me when people from my cultural background embrace me and appreciate what I do too. My whole life I've been fighting that off. Like, oh, you're Filipino? Who's Filipino? Your mom or your dad? Like, dad. of course, every auntie is like, "Oh, your dad, he must be handsome." You know, mixed kids like me, it's usually like the Filipino mom and the white dad. But you know, my mom's Sicilian and my dad's a good-looking, handsome Filipino man from San
Man.
Francisco. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
so not to get too off topic,
Man.
but that all relates. But I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
When all the bodies, they embrace my music, and I feel I'm trying to do the same. You know what I'm saying? I love working with my people. I relate in certain ways that I don't with other people. You know, it's very special for me. Like shouts to Bamboo. When we talked about Bamboo, shouts to Big Bamboo. He's a man in our scene, and man, there's so many that have just come up, right? Oh, her, you know, pop star her. She's been killing it. She's from Vallejo, Filipino girl from Vallejo.
Oh, who's that?
She's the first like lead Filipino lead actress in, I think it's a play.
Okay. Oh, I didn't catch her
Beauty
name.
and the Beast. Yeah, it's Her. That's her name.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, she's dope. And she always reps, too. I watch her shows. She can cook Filipino food, which is huge. You know what I mean? She's not out there trying to be something else. She's being herself, and I really respect that, you know?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I saw that she was casted for the Beauty and the Beast movie, and yeah, absolutely, she's representing hard. But yeah, there are a lot of great people representing the scene. Ruby Ibarra. Yeah, I mean, even from your camp, Off-White was doing some great stuff too as well. And
Off-White was killing it back in the day.
Yeah, still killing it. Blue Scholars, we're doing some awesome.
Scholars, yep.
So yeah, it's been good, and it's been awesome watching the younger generation too. Also take the reins,
right,
and dabble into the music scene as well, man. It's been awesome to watch.
Yeah, it seems like things are thriving because of the internet. You know, we're all able to connect. Like you and I can connect this way. Back in the day, if I wanted to like talk and do an interview with somebody I really wanted to talk to, it'd take a lot of money for me to get out there, record it on the tape, and then transcribe it into words, you know, so this is a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Oh, yeah, which, like, that also kind of brings me to that last point I made. I'm persistent with this because I think it's really important. We have a responsibility as this older generation that grew up without the internet, without cell phones. We're the last generation that's disconnected from the new technology that's driving humanity forward. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's really important because we're now moving into that age where we're the elders, you know, and the wise ones. And I don't think a lot of us are really stepping up and talking to these kids. And they need it. They need guidance. They need discipline. They need direction. And they need the OGs around to guide them. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I appreciate about your music, because you always got a positive message, man. There's always something positive in your writing, and I think it's super important to still have examples like you yourself out there leading the way for these young kids, you know, because I know you still have an audience of younger kids too, or you have their uncles and fathers that are showing them your music. Shouts to Christopher Details. That's my homeboy. I told you he was like hyped when I told him I was doing an interview with you, man. And he was like, "Oh man, Memphis Reigns was crushing it, man. I love it."
Too kind, man. Well, thank you, man. Shout out to your boy, man. I appreciate that.
Hopefully I'll get him on here too. He's a real talented young cat.
Dope.
But yeah, is there like, take us through kind of your writing process and how you write a song, come up with concepts, and if you have any like, you know, any tips for younger generation and the older generation on writing and what you can do to make the process more fluid, you know, and authentic.
Yeah, I mean, I used to try to start the song by just kind of creating the verses and just writing it and then hope that the hook will come along. But I think it's a little reverse for me now, is that I think for me the hook is super important. I think that's what kind of packed it. And so I've started the other way now. So I kind of use the hook to drive what my verses will look like. But yeah, I mean, it's just anything I can find influence, inspiration from. I use that to drive the song. But I think the best thing that I could share with anybody is to just kind of use your life experiences as a driver for the music that you create. You know, talk about what you know. I think early on too, you know, I kind of try to fit an identity of to write about things that I probably didn't have too much experience in, and it's probably just a victim of victim of learning how to write music. But I think as I got older, it was very easier when I would draw topics from just things I would know, and I would just look at everyday life and kind of pull from that to drive the songs. But nowadays, I try to find I try to always coming up with new ways to come up with songs, right? And so for this next album I got coming out in January, Kassan with my man D Mitch next week. There's a song on there called Red Vines, and it was just me just messing around. I said, man, hey, I want to do this song, so it's surrounded by a Red Vines topic, man. And so I played with that and challenged myself, and that's great, man. I love the track, man. So yeah, that would be my biggest advice, man. Draw from your personal experiences, and don't try to be like anybody else, because there's only one of you, man. And so it'd be a shame, for the world not to hear about your story. So use that as a driver. And man, hey, I agree with your point too earlier, just about us not having the same resources as this newer generation has, and we're the last of the kind, where we didn't have access to all this technology. And so, very important to share what we've learned and experienced with the younger generation too, as well. So much stuff out there now, and it's information overload, and sometimes they just need that that person there who's seen it with their own two eyes, rather than reading it online. So very important to share our knowledge and pass that on to the younger generation too, as well. And so man, totally agree with you. But
definitely a different, like for me, I've been thinking about it. I've been going back to pen and paper, pencil and paper.
Yeah.
I've been writing on the phone forever, or just kind of like stopping the chord, verse for verse, word for word type of thing.
Yeah.
I've been going back to like back in the day when I was 17, 16. I would just take a pen and a notepad and go sit somewhere that's inspiring, around people or totally secluded from people, and just write, pour all that stuff out.
Yeah.
I think it kind of the pen and the paper limits you in a good way. I think, you could sit and really think out your thoughts when you're writing, instead of just like boom, 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 type in, thumb typing and all that. Like, I think there's something to be said about physically touching your words to paper,
Yeah.
It comes out different, I think. But, we don't all have time for that, so I understand that just using the phone. But I think that it's important to kind of use those as techniques to sharpen your writing, sharpen your songwriting, because there's something valuable there that you don't get just by looking at a screen and typing to a phone. Neurologically, I think the phone is just kind of like making your brain go haywire anyways, or faster.
Yeah.
You can connect more when you're not staring at a blue screen. I feel like you can really think your thoughts out more. That's why there's so much shit talking on the internet, because people aren't thinking. They're just kind of writing that shit without filtering themselves, And
that's a good point, man.
The pencil and the pen kind of help you filter out what you're thinking and about to put on the paper,
That's a good point, man. Hey, how well are you at predicting what songs would be probably the best received by the audience? Like, do you know, like when you're recording the album and like, hey man, this song I think is the one that'll connect with the most people? How well are you at that?
I'm pretty good at it.
Nice.
I was not good at it when I was with Galapagos, because that one song off of Blind Faith, Pick Up 52s, became really popular in Europe for some reason. It's got over 2 million hits on Spotify.
Yeah.
It just became really big. And I was like, nobody's going to feel this song at all.
Yeah.
Because the swing shit actually comes from my Lola. She taught me how to swing dance, and my grandfather was a jazz player in the Air Force. And he was a big band jazz player. And when he got out, he was kind of like the Mad Men style. Have you ever seen that show, Mad Men?
Yeah.
Dressed in suits, and they were kind of sleazy, and he was like a sleazy jazz player, but not to talk shit on him. He's a good dude too. I love him.
Yeah,
but my Lola was the one that introduced me to that style. So that kind of like bebop, Cab Calloway type of thing has always been in my music in my blood musically.
Yeah.
So I had no idea, to answer your question.
Yeah, I was just curious, man. I'm usually pretty bad at it, man. But but yeah, I think getting a little better, man. But yeah, always shocked, man, to see what song hits with some people and what resonates. But yeah, I
You
was.
have good beat choice too, man. That's like there's an
Oh,
art to that. Picking the
thank you.
right beats, there's an art to that too. Because I could tell you, Illmatic was one of the dopest records of all time, and then
Yep.
most of the records after that, I was like, the beat choice is so bad. You know what I mean?
Oh,
But your beat choice is good. Every album, the beat choices have been phenomenal, man. They hit
yeah.
too. Your mixes are great too.
Oh man, that's credit to all the other guys that I'm working with, man. But yeah, man, I definitely I'm very selective with the beats that I use, and there's certain sounds, there's certain things I'm going for, man, and so yeah, I agree with you. Beat choice is very important, regardless of how dope the MC is, man. The producer, man, got to give them love, man, because they create the mood and they create the way that the song is gonna go, man. So yeah, agree with you, man.
So how important is video content for you nowadays for all your new stuff? Are you working on video stuff?
Yeah, that's a
Visually,
good.
everybody's into content nowadays. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. So I wrestle with that question probably frequently, and so I just as I mentioned and as you mentioned before, man, our time is limited in terms of having to divvy that out with family, job, other responsibilities in music, and so as I'd love to do shows again, and I love to create more video, man, but I choose to use my energy on just putting the music down and recording it, creating it. So I've allocated my energy towards that. And so I'll probably play with the idea a little more this year and just try to get it out there, or at least do some videos and stuff. But yeah, I had definitely made a conscious decision that, yeah, hey, I want to, I want to get these albums out. Got a lot of ideas that I want to put together. And so, if I had to use my energy towards music, it'd be recording music. So that was a choice for sure.
I mean, you don't have any shortage of beautiful environment to shoot around where you're at because you live in a place, right?
Good point. Might have to wait for you to come on over here, man, and coach your brother, man.
So I'm trying to. Do you surf out there?
I don't. A bodyboard. Yeah. So
bodyboard?
Yeah. So it's been pretty fun.
Down to come out and surf and bodyboard, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely, man. Happy to host your family here, man. Come out, man, and we'll take care of y'all out here.
Well, I would love that. Same. It's likewise. In Florida, man. Hang out with us.
Yeah.
Have you linked with any of the hip hop scene in Hawaii yet?
So I'd probably say other the most would be a producer by the name of Cabot the Catalyst. So real influential in the Hawaiian music scene too as well. It's got a clothing company that is pretty amazing called Light Sleepers. So
that's a dope name.
Yeah, he was able to contribute kind enough to first hop on Hawaii in 2020. And then just has been a friend ever since. And so we had talked about connecting this year and putting something down. So yeah, there should be something from us coming in 2023.
Hawaii's that's dope, man. Hawaii's always had a lot of good, like Santa Cruz, a lot of dope talent,
Yeah. Yeah,
like I mentioned this before, but Omega 6 was one of my favorite from when I was.
Oh, yeah.
The Proletarians, all them guys, they were real dope.
Yeah,
he was. Hawaii scene had some hitters, man.
Yeah, and I love learning about like the different scenes in each state too, as well, man. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Hawaii's got a very thick hip hop scene, man. A lot of dope MCs out here.
What would you say? So, who are your biggest influences? I kind of know the answer, but I don't think we touch on it enough. Yeah.
So, man, I've got a hodgepodge of people that I really try to draw from early on. And so, so I was really big into battle rapping when I first got into rap. So I would say Cannabis was probably like super big, and MC Juice out of Chicago.
Oh, Jesus,
those guys was really, really into, man, just for their lyrical content. For style-wise, I was super big into like Smith and Wesson, the way they do, the back and forth. Gangstar, Inspector Deck was my favorite dude from the Clan. I really, kind of try to emulate some of my stuff when I was first learning how to rap. But I got big love for the Bay Area too, man. So super big with JT, the bigger figure, Mac Moore.
It's one of mine. Those two right there, some of my top favorites.
Yeah, Mac Dre, all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
man. Enjoyed listening to the music, and again, we're major in terms of me developing, who I became today. So shout out to.
Man, I can relate to that highly. My whole sound, the beginning was on before I even heard underground hip hop. It was all based off of just Bay Area mob music and gangster rap from the Bay.
Yeah.
Selski, Selly Cell.
Oh man.
Lil Bruce, Mac Dre, Mac Moon, that whole camp, Kyrie, Young Black,
sure.
GLP, San Quinn, Messi Marv, all them dudes, and of course,
man,
3 Times Crazy.
Oh yeah,
all the old school Oakland stuff. Too Short's probably one of my favorite rappers.
Yeah. Got just an amazing scene too as well. 3 Times Crazy, man. That struck a memory. That was I used the instrumental from them to record my first song in high school. It was crazy.
We used to freestyle over that so much, man.
Yeah, the 2-track, man, karaoke machine.
Yep. Oh, we did talk about it. Yeah, everybody has recorded on a karaoke machine. If you feel like we're Asian.
That's right. You got to knock the song out in one take, man.
Yep. Love it. That's the 2-track, and then we upgraded to the 4-track.
That's right, man. That's right.
Yeah, shout out to my man Kwang Lu, Stevie Weeby. He's a 4-track king, man. He taught me how to use all that stuff. The MS1, he had this rolling MS1 that he was creating on, and that like set me in the beat making zone when I was a kid. I always loved playing with the sampling machines,
Yeah, and that's funny too. So I remember we talked about this too. Was do we try any other element too back in the day, right?
Yeah. Did you try any other elements? Yeah.
That's right, man. So I was amazed. I didn't know that you produced too, man. I always know you as a and just like I said, man. And I was trying to remember the song that I kept playing, and I found it yesterday. It was that song called "I See Through You"? Oh my God, man.
Oh yeah, that was a mediocre beat, man. And I wrote that when I was living in my own apartment in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was 16, and I wrote that. Yeah, I was super into aliens and stuff. I still am, but it's all about kind of like political corruption and aliens,
Dude, that song gets high rotation on my Spotify list, man. Yeah, so I couldn't remember it when we were talking about it, and I had to look for it, man. But bananas, man, you just killed it, man, on something else.
So much fun to do live, man.
I
did a live show one. Very much fun.
Yeah. And so it's this story for me, man. I think I tried everything else, right? Like
you tried producing, right?
Breakdancing and graffiti. Yeah, all failed at all those different elements, man, and just found myself best connected with just rapping in general, man. So pretty funny.
Wait, did you have any breakdancing moves? Did you have any moves that you could do?
Man, now probably not, but man, I was super big in doing the hand spin. That was kind of but man, just overall, man, I think my buddies were real better at it, and it just didn't really stick with me, man. And I think graffiti in my handwriting was too messy. Right?
Mine too, bro. I had graph writers kept trying to get me to write. All graph writer kids I went to school with. Give me alphabets and all that stuff. Like, come on, just practice. I'm like, I'm not really that good at this, man. I could barely spell.
Yeah. So, I think I failed at everything else. And hip-hop, rapping in general just worked out for me, man. So, that was good. Funny memory for sure.
Yeah. DJing, you figure every Filipino could DJ. That was kind of like the running joke of the hip-hop. Oh, you Filipino, you can DJ, huh?
That's right.
Yeah, nope. Not D-style, man.
Yeah. I was the reject from that, man, for sure. But we do. Hey, man, that's another good point, though, man. Filipinos represented big time in the DJ scene, right?
Still crushing.
Oh, my gosh, man, yeah.
Hubert's still the best who ever did it. Invisible Scratch Pickles were amazing. I used to see him at parties, huge parties, man.
Oh, absolutely.
Mixmaster Mike, he got as big as you could pretty much get as a DJ.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, man. Yeah, him, Shortcut, and yeah, all those guys from ISP were amazing, man. That was amazing to watch them on their journey too as well, man. I enjoyed that.
Breakdancing and dancing too, Filipinos crushed it at. There's
Yeah,
always like a couple Filipino dudes in the breakdancing crew back in the day.
always, man. Yeah, and then
so much style,
Yeah, you're either good at that or doing the cha-cha, man, right? So,
yeah.
yeah. They definitely had it down, man.
Do you still do karaoke with your family?
You know what? That's funny, man. I don't, man. I'll do it just, if we're all trying to have a good time. I don't do it like I don't find it fun, but if that's what the group wants to do, then I'll go down and I'll go hang out and have a good time, man. So now
you'd probably do if it was hip hop karaoke, bro.
Yeah. So I'll find myself trying to find songs. I'm always looking for like the Humpty Dance. And I'll do that. But yeah.
That's hilarious, man.
Yeah. What about you? Are you a karaoke guy?
I am, man. I love to sing.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when I went to the province, I went to Cagayan and then up to Ilocos. And they brought out like a generator and a karaoke machine right into the province, into this field.
Nice.
And we just did karaoke all night and drank Red Horse and
yeah,
ate grilled squid, and it was amazing, man. It's like one of the best times I remember of my life. And I definitely didn't sing that good, but all the cousins and the aunties are like, "Oh my gosh, you're so good! You have a beautiful voice." So like, no, I don't. I definitely don't, man.
No, I could tell, man. I could tell you do, man. When I hear you, when you go into the melodic delivery, man, I could see it's there, man. So I believe it, man.
Harmonies for sure. But I was singing like Prince and Neil Young, and I was like, no way, I'm not in key at all. I can tell I'm not.
Very cool, man. Yeah,
man.
Good night, man. I definitely enjoyed doing those things in the Philippines, man. Very cool.
You still go back there and visit?
I haven't been back in a while. I think probably last time I was there was about 2015, 2016. I was stationed out there. So that in turn was pretty dope too, man, to see Philippines as an adult. So a lot of time they're younger. And so just going back as an adult and appreciating more than just hanging out with my cousins, getting to appreciate all the amazing scenery and landmarks and just talking to people more with, having deeper conversations, man. It was just an amazing experience for me, man. Enjoy
people are the best out there, man.
Yeah, happy people, man.
It's becoming like a big tourist destination too for surfers, surf resorts and stuff. Homie, you know who Free the Robots is?
I
don't.
Heard
Free the Robots? He's another Filipino producer. Amazing, man. Amazing producer. Came out of the Low End Theory scene with Flying Lotus and all them guys. He's amazing. But he moved back there pre-pandemic to start a surf resort with a homeboy of ours, Archie.
Okay.
And he ended up having He ended up having to stay, but then he just decided to stay anyways because he just loved it there so much, man. That island life it's different. It's slow. Yeah. You get the best food. You're around the best people. You really experience life in that sense, I think like that's kind of the misunderstanding is like a lot of people over there want to come here so they can make money and send it back to their family or have to work abroad because just not a lot of jobs.
Sure.
There's not a middle class yet,
That's right.
Low class, high class, and there's no really in between, which is unfortunate. But when I go back there, and we have a lot here, and I've had less than a lot of people and more than a lot of people, and when I go there, I'm like, man, this is kind of the way you should be living life,
Yeah, sure.
Really in touch with the land, in touch with the ocean, in touch with their food, in touch with the culture and the people. As I was telling a lot of people about the Philippines, and there's always like horror stories people hear that, you go there, you get robbed or kidnapped or something. I'm like, man, I can tell you from experience, I never felt threatened ever. And I went to some of the so-called worst places. Went to a lot of barrios out there, man. And I never felt like anybody had any ill intention ever,
Yeah, and so I think it's like, like, I mean, that's pretty normal in every city, right? So, unfortunate that their experience was that way, but man, every city around the world is beautiful and, worth visiting too, man. So, yeah, unfortunate that the experience went that way. But yeah, I agree with you, man. Like, when I was out there too as well, just nothing but kindness and just everybody trying to make sure that I had a good time. So, love being out there. So, man, I'm glad that you experienced the same.
Yeah, it's amazing out there, man. And it's booming now. Like, I think the economy is actually starting to take off a little more now.
Yeah, I think so, man. With travel opening up.
One of my goals, man, go back there, open something up, and be able to live out there part-time,
Nice.
Love to live out there.
Yeah.
But, so, why don't you let everybody know what you got coming, what's going on with you in the future, and how everybody can get in contact with you.
Yeah. Hey, you can find all my music on memphisreigns.com. And then I've got Instagram account that, I post some of my updates on at Memphis. So the handle is MEMPHREEZ. I got an album dropping on January 7th with a good friend of mine, D. Mitch Kassan. So it's an LP that's coming out next week. And then just down the chute, I've got about 2 or 3 projects that are well into it. One just with my man Chrome out of Virginia, super dope producer. And this Korean MC that I met when I was out in Korea by the name of Ye Soul. So super dope. That's probably close to being done, as well as a project with my man Remshot, my boy from Santa Cruz. We're doing a project with a buddy that also grew up in Japan and goes by the name L. And so those are probably the most complete projects that are probably coming out right after Kassan. But otherwise, man, I'm here grinding, making music still having a good time. But yeah, you can find all updates on those 2 locations.
Yeah, everybody go check out Memphis Reigns. Amazing, genuine, authentic individual. One of the best Pinoy rappers of all time. One of the greatest rappers out of Santa Cruz for sure.
Man, too kind.
Check him out, man. And I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate everything that you do, brother. Very blessed to have you on the podcast and to have you still doing music too, man. Everybody reach out and, hit him up, follow him, grab his music, stay in contact with him, keep him going.
Hey, thanks, brother. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak on your platform and just do this great discussion with you, man. Again, I've always been a big fan, man. So amazing to follow your music. And, man,
that family, man.
I hope we get to put it down too, man. I know we've exchanged a couple beats, man. So I hope we can make that reality in 2023, man.
Oh, it's happening. I've been writing.
Yeah,
I'm going to have something for you soon, man.
Nice. Likewise, man. So honored to be a friend. And like I said, man, I'm cheering you on from Hawaii, man. And I'm waiting for y'all to come out so we can take care of you out here.
Coming. Our crazy family is going to show up at your doorstep, bro.
I love it. I can't open, brother. I can't wait.
Yes, sir. All right, Pade. I appreciate you, man. Happy New Year. Let's get it. Time to crush 2023, man.
All right. Take care, brother.
Yes, sir. Peace.
All right.